Hey guys, welcome to PHENOMSOUND. In this series of ultimate tutorials, I'm sharing with you my technique of building a drop from sound design to mixing, mastering and arrangement. I'm sharing my secrets on filling the space, adding nice little sounds that will help you to sound professional. And in today's video, we are going to take a look at the NEUROFUNK drum and bass. And here's the demo that we are going to be working with in this video. This FL Studio project, all of the serum presets and samples from it are available on my Patreon page. So go ahead and click the link in the description. You can find a lot of interesting music production content there that will help you to make a better music. Also, I highly recommend you to check my latest serum preset pack called the Alchemy. It's a really massive multi-genre preset pack that will dramatically improve your production quality. Also, there's a 30% discount on my previous preset pack, Cyber Jedi. Make sure to check it out as well. So it's a very funky drop with lots of guitar and acoustic drums samples. And though it sounds super simple, there are lots of details that make it sound really professional. Let's start with the little sound design breakdown. So my main bass is just a simple sine wave, a femmed sine wave with some automation. So the whole NEUROFUNK sound design is pretty much based on the sine waves. That's why it sounds so smooth and with juicy low frequencies. So I'm using this type of automation with a sine wave, which is FM'd from the second oscillator. Here I have the sharp sine selected. The FM knob is automated, so at the very start of the sound, the FM effect is really subtle and it increases as the sound progresses. The same automation is applied to the bend plus minus warp mode on the second oscillator. So it sounds quite boring without it. Now you see we have some movement going on, which is nice. And I'm setting the second oscillator pitch to +1. You can play with it and enabling the sub to add some additional harmony layer. Also really subtle one, and adding the flanger minus filter, which is one of my favorite ones. You can see the difference is just dramatic. It kinda acidizing the sound, which is exactly what we are looking for this Neuro sound design. And I have lots of affixes. Pretty much all of them are used except the dimension expander, delay and EQ. So dry, it sounds like this. I'm distorting it using the asymmetric distortion and setting the drive all the way up. Adding some width using the flanger, phaser and a chorus. All of these three are here for pretty much the same purpose, to add some space and to make the sound more organic and alive. Then I'm compressing it with the gain set at 15 decibel, reducing some high frequency compression. Adding some reverb and a filter, which is the high notch 12. Certainly adds more saturation to the sound with this massive low frequency boost. And there are also a couple of final tricks that I like to use. I'm using the vibrator on the master tuning with the rate speed set at 1/16 and using it to automate the master tuning with the amount of 2. And another trick, I'm adding some pitch automation with this ramp on the 4th LFO, setting it to 1. The second sound is pretty much the same, with some minor adjustments, just a second layer to make it fatter and to add some more harmonies to the drop. Here are some simple basses, which are using pretty much the same technique. So our basses are done on the serum side. Let's take a look at the post-processing. So I also have some mastering going on, so let me disable it. So now it sounds like this. I'm adding the OTT compressor, making it really loud with the downwards compression set at 20, reducing the high frequencies and boosting up some mids and lows. Then I'm EQing it, making it much cleaner by removing this 150 Hz mod and some 1K frequencies as well. Then I have some little surgery EQ. Check this out. You see this huge peak in resonance, which I'm removing using this surgery EQ. Just check the difference, how much sharpness and unnecessary mod they are creating. You see these peaks. Those are called the resonance, and it's better to remove those if you are hearing some really sharp, nasty frequencies in your mix. So I'm also removing some high frequency sharpness at somewhere around 5K. And once again, getting rid of the low frequency mod. And here I have the final EQ with some 20 Hz really sharp low cut and final low frequency mod reduction. So we are having this nice little gap to create the contrast between the sub bass and the mid bass. And this mod is exactly what is ruining this nice low frequency sub bass by blurring it up with your mid bass. When you feel that you've reduced quite enough of this mod, try reducing it some more and you'll see that the result is much better now. Check this out. Okay, and I'm making it a bit more narrow. The default position of this knob makes it sound like this. It's quite wide, so yeah. You can make it complete mono, but I prefer keeping some of the width like this. And here I have the maximizer, which is just a basic limiter, where I'm limiting the sound to minus 4.5 decibel. But it's all up to you and your mix. There's no golden number for that. And let me enable my mastering plugins back, and there you go. So we are getting to the drums, and I have quite a lot of going on in this drum section. This is my main kick and snare, some synthetic kick that I've made, and some snare from Splice. This is the pattern I'm using, and I'm adding the layer of some acoustic drums. Because we are making some funky drum and bass, we want it to be at least a little bit acoustic. I'm using the KJ Sauka drums, acoustic kick, acoustic snare. Those are quite wide. I'm using the stereo shaper on it. And this is how they blend with the synthetic drums. And of course I'm using the cymbals layer. It sounds kind of sharp solo, but in the mix it really perfectly blends with the bass thanks to the OTT and saturator, and we are getting quite nice sounding mix. And I'm setting the kick, snare and cymbals to dead mono. I'm always saying that if you want to point some sound out, you gotta make it really wide. And the opposite, if you want it to sit a little farther from the listener, you gotta make it mono. If you have too many sounds in your mix that are really wide, it will be a really mess. You really want to point out the most interesting sounds only. So you gotta choose which sound you want to make really wide and which sound will be mono. In this kind of mix, I'm setting my drums to mono, setting my bass to half mono, half stereo, and creating some additional effects, noises, sounds that are really wide, which pretty much create this picture of professional sounding song. We'll get to it in a couple of minutes. Let me tell you a bit more about the post-processing of the drums. I'm using the saturator and the EQ on the kick. Saturator is a free plugin from the Melda Productions bundle, and removing some low frequencies on the kick. And using the same set of plugins on the snare. Picking up some high frequencies on the snare, which I feel is lacking. I'm using the transient processor on the cymbals to make the transients more aggressive by setting the attack all the way up. So now it hits really harder, and I'm using the delay to make these cymbals a bit smoother. Like this. So this is a super basic set for the drop. It's the bass and the drums. Let's go ahead and make it more professional by adding some nice, interesting elements. As you can see, a lot of stuff is going on in here. Let me play all of the additional stuff solo. It makes no sense at all, but if we enable what we've just done, okay, how do I know where to put all of this stuff? Let me try to explain. First thing that I put in here to make it more funky was this funky guitar samples. Those samples are synchronized with my first bass of the drop, so it hits on each first kick of the pattern. It really sounds much more interesting with this layer, and plus it's super wide. There is some funky guitar loop from Splice or from some other website, I don't know. And I'm using a couple of plugins on it. Super funky, really love these funky guitars. I'm using the Matter, it's the plugin that I've reviewed a couple of videos ago. It's really super cool. I'm using it on all of my projects right now. I fell in love with it, and I'm using it to add some harmonies. You can play with the pitch. I'm setting it to 12 to add some extra high octave on these guitars with a little grain effect and a bit of a delay. Plus, it makes it super wide, which is exactly what we are looking for. And I'm using the harmony engine. I like using the vocal multiplier preset, setting the driver position somewhere at around 20. It adds some more harmonies, of course. It duplicates the sound and makes more voices out of it. And also I'm using the transient processor to make the kind of gate effect, to chop this guitar a bit more, pumping up the attack all the way up and reducing the release to cut the tail. So now it's shorter and more groovy. And I'm low cutting it. And there you go. Then I feel that I could have some more harmonies on the guitar. And I'm looking for another guitar sample. This time it's sleepy bass guitar. And I'm using this another short sample to layer it with the first sample. Then I have this funky voice samples. I don't know, maybe it's James Brown, maybe someone else. Fortunately, I don't recognize it. And this is the James Brown, of course. Next, I'm feeling that my drums are quite empty and I want some little extra layer. So I'm adding this super simple drum, I don't know, shuffle, if you can call it. Though the pattern sounds simple, just a simple ten, 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 but it's placed on the triplets. So let me play it solo with the drums and you will get what I mean. This little shuffle trick adds more groove to the drums and to the whole drop, of course. I like using it with the hi-hats, and this time I've made the snares pattern with this kind of rhythm. Then here I have a little drum fill that I've cut from some funk song. Here goes the hi-hat layer. Classic drum and bass hi-hat pattern. And final magic layer that I like is this really wide noise. You probably think, why do we need it? Because it's already sounds quite nice. But as soon as we enable it and we disable it once again, you will understand that how the hell we could live without it. Check this out. Here it goes solo. Sounds really weird, isn't it? But there you go, in the mix it makes a huge difference. It perfectly blends with the main bass and you feel that it's the high end of this particular bass. But this noise is really super wide, while the bass is almost mono. And we've made this same pattern for this noise. Plus we can manipulate this noise separately from the main bass, which is just awesome. This noise layer is based on this crappy sound. I can't even describe what it is, but I've used shitloads of post-processing on it to make it really nice. I'm using the erosion. If you're Ableton user, you probably know this one. It's the standard Ableton tool, really nice one. It makes this stuff noisy and really a perfect tool for NEUROFUNK drum and bass. And some cool guy have ported this plugin to FL Studio. Not exactly ported, he made it from scratch. And there is a free VST version of erosion. I've put a link in the description. You can download it from the original source. And after the erosion, it sounds like this. It's more noisy, and I'm using the freeform phase to make it smoother and more dispersed. Add in a frequency shifter to make it really wide and moving, and another matter. Add in a low pitch layer and some delay to add some more harmonies. Add in some low cut, auto pan, so it's now traveling. Picking some sweet spot of the noise, which is in my case 1K600. Add in Serum FX to smooth everything up. Using the chorus, which is a nice smoother for the sounds, and the delay, which does the same thing. And adding another instance of Mata. This time I'm adding some high frequency harmonies, so it sounds already kind of melodic. And I'm repeating the rhythm of the bass using the gross beat. And for this slow bass, I've duplicated the same noise and changed the gating effect a bit. Nice, we've took a look at all of these little components of the drop, and now let's find out how to glue all this stuff together. To do this, I'm using the mastering, and without it, it sounds like this. With it, so the first thing that I always do is I'm compressing the mix using the OTT with the downwards compression set at 40 and the depth at 20 or 25, playing with the frequency knobs set in this case I'm reducing the high frequencies a bit. Then I'm saturating the things up with the driver set at 30. And having some final EQ, once again removing the 150 Hz mod on the whole mix and reducing the 3K Hz sharpness. And finally, I'm using the limiter. In this case, it's the maximizer with a really fast character, because it's very important to not ruin your transients when you put in the limiter on the master. And if you're setting the character to really fast, the transient will keep popping, which is exactly what we're looking for. And I'm using the IRC4 method with the transient mode enabled. And this is it. This is our final mix. Okay guys, hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found some useful, interesting information for you that will help you in your music production journey. If you do like this video, leave a comment and subscribe to PHENOMSOUND. There are lots of interesting videos to come, so stay tuned. Make sure to follow my Instagram page and to check my Patreon. Huge thanks for watching this video, and we will see you in the next one. Bye!